What up, sir?
How are you, man?
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
How are you?
likewise, Mr. Tom. Welcome to the stream.
Thanks, man.
It's a pleasure to have you on.
Everything's been going well with you guys on this thing, man. I've been seeing this everywhere now.
Have you
You're getting
really?
like, yeah, and it's like, I mean, you're like getting like the like people that I'm actually somewhat interested in like listening to, right? And it's not the same like podcast circuit-esque people that you usually kind of get. Right. Usually people do a podcast and it's like, oh, like listen to this guy tell his like, I don't know, it's like 5 minute story 17 times with
Mhm.
like the same kind of boring like circuit of like podcast interview people. But yeah, no, it's been nice. But you've convinced like that the prediction market one with Dahmer, whatever. Like
Yeah.
he's like a legend. And like, I was like, oh, how the hell did you get this guy to like come out and talk to you, man? Like, it was cool. Yeah. So I've been
Dude,
seeing it in a bunch of places. I think it's doing really
that's
well.
that's sick that you're seeing it. The thing that's cool about it is I switched to this format where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do 3 interviews a day. And so because I force 3 interviews a day, 30 minutes, it's like a forcing function that you gotta find guests. Like, you can't just get like Alon or whomever every like Soulport Tom. It's like, okay, obviously, but then you have to like get in the trenches and like find
Yeah.
some cool people, which leads to like really sick. Also, Archie with the 25 gifted, thank you. Leads to some like really sick outcomes. Like, I get yourself on, I get all these awesome people on. So it's been like a fun new format. Also, really quick, can you smile for a thumbnail for me? Sick. But all right, Tom, we got you on the stream. Welcome. It's good to have you. Do you want to give us like a quick high level on who you are and what you work on?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tom. I've worked, I've done crypto, essentially at crypto startups kind of forever. When I was like in college, I found some guy to give me a job as like a marketing guy at some like really early stage Bitcoin startup like 10 years ago. Didn't really know what I was doing, and I never really left since then. I worked at like a couple really early Bitcoin startups that all more or less failed, right? And then I spent most of my last kind of professional life working on this thing Augur, right? Decentralized prediction market, which also arguably very much failed, right? Failed as any sort of like an adopted consumer product,
Wait, not to
right?
cut you off, but Augur is the first prediction market ever, yeah?
It was like the first like crypto like take in it, yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
there were like people, there was like In Trade and these kind of prediction markets that existed on the internet prior to this, but Augur was the first. We were like, it was the first like ICO on Ethereum, and it was the first people we tried it like on ETH, and it was like we did it from this like really stupidly as far end to the spectrum as decentralized as possible, which also makes it like actually impossible for you to pretty much use as a user. And it like technically is sound, and like there's a bunch of like good like academic and like functional and foundational stuff that I think we solved in the long run that like will be used, but as a product, it never, you have Polymarket today. Polymarket, I think, is
Yeah.
like the ultimate prediction market winner. There a lot of stuff was built on top of that, right? But I did that more or less for 7.5 years, 8 years. Working on that was kind of the. I'm not an engineer. I was the only like not engineer on that team. I'm like an on-chain guy, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can kind of do some engineering stuff. Not anything crazy.
Wait, what was
And
your
then
role
today,
at Augur?
uh, I was hired originally as like, I think my title was product manager, and
Okay.
then I became into like director of operations, and then I was the only person who wasn't an engineer. So I did all the non-engineering stuff, and I did all like the product stuff. I was the guy who like used everything in crypto, right? So like I could go in and be like, no, this is like the wallet connect modal you need, right? Because like I've used all this
Yeah, yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and
Okay, okay,
like
okay,
I was
okay.
like the one that like kind of like I was out there using the things. I never ship production code on Augur. No, I would never go near that. Today I ship a little bit more just because we got all the good vibe tools today, right? I can do so much more with that stuff.
Ah.
Yeah, that stuff was like a game changer. But today we build gas, which is we call it a baby bridge. It's slowly kind of getting better, but long story short, I was like a big on-chain guy, and I just wanted to build a bridge that like I kind of functionally wanted as a user. And like I wanted it with like really high coverage. So I wanted like all these like weird and exotic chains, right? It's like it's kind of a niche thing. And I wanted to be quick, wanted to be fast. And so like you can bridge to more than one chain at the same time. Kind of these kind of like it's very much like a power user-esque type of a bridge. But it started kind of working, give or take, maybe about 6 or 7 months ago, and now we've been trying to expand it and growing into larger limits. Kind of functionally pointing it more towards an actual bridge. So today, well, on majors, I'll bridge you like somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000 is your limit. But like I can bridge you from like any EVM to Sol or backwards, like almost free, clears in like 2 seconds.
And give me the
So I'm just kind
the
of
high level pitch on like for a consumer, like like how you would practically use the product, and then like why it's good.
do you like have you ever bridged before?
Yeah, all the time.
Actually, like, like, yeah, exactly, right? So what do you use when you bridge
We use,
typically today?
it's everything's trash. Everything
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. So today you want to use something like there's a jumper exchange, which is like it's an aggregator. The aggregators finally got good. So like it took a while before these aggregators like actually began aggregating the correct and good routes. And like so the aggregator's like really good today. It'll get you the best route for the
I
cheapest
use
price.
I couldn't think of it. It's side shift is what I usually use.
Oh wow. Okay. Yes. Yes. So that I mean, yeah, yeah. It's that's like an exchanger. Like there's
Uh,
not anything with like a side shift. Actually, maybe they do, but it's
but
more of like an
also every
exchanger
time I
than the
use
protocol.
side shift, like I only mainly use it to like mix my like I'll have like a wallet like it's docs, and then I'm like fuck I don't want to trade on docs wallet,
Yeah.
and then I'll side shift,
Yeah.
but then they like time sequence my transactions, and then I found the new wallet, and I'm like so now like
Oh yeah,
going
you live in a different world with some of that stuff
then
because
I'm
you
going
have
like
to.
cracking change deposit address, and I'm breaking it up into different wallets. It's like a fucking mess, dude. D-Bridge is pretty good
That
too. D-Bridge is decent.
yeah, that's like literally your options if you're in that route where you need to like kind of break your on-chain trail because people follow you and like stalk your wallets. You live in like a different you're that's like you have to do exactly that. You have to do like cracking like change deposit addresses and like Bexy offshore
They're
exchanges
like
and like
time
try to break them.
syncing my
I
withdrawals.
know.
I'm like, dude, like, what is even profitable? Like, it's not even green. It's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, so that's like, I mean, that's a very, you're in a unique case for sure, right? But for like kind of an average person, it's just I try to be we're a very fast and very cheap, arguably free bridge. Get you from Solana, SVM chain, any sort of EVM chain. And the only reason we really kind of got some level of market share to begin with was we are like exotically stupid chain coverage. So I support like 350 chains. Our whole
Oh,
thing is like I will like support and get to a chain arguably before a lot of these chains I get there like before the chain's publicly launched because we'll find like the RPCs and stuff online. So it's just a like very very high chain coverage. So people kind of use this as like a discovery mechanism for like new chains that kind of come out and stuff like that. But it's more like people, there's roll-ups launching every day, right? I
yeah.
could pull up like 7 new roll-ups that launch every single day. And like you have to be, there's a certain type of user that like wants to go to all these places. A lot of them are airdrop farming and stuff like this. But there's incentive campaigns on them. Katana, this like
Yeah.
Polygon chain, new chain just launched. But yeah, there's so many chains, and we try to be the one bridge that like kind of covers it all and stays on top of it all, more or less.
Have you ever gotten paid to do voiceovers?
No, why? I think it'd be a good voiceover.
Has anyone like ever told you that before or no?
No, I don't. I mean, they told me I could like. They're like, you should do a podcast, but I think that's more just because I like rant.
No, it's like
You know,
you could definitely get paid to do some like play me in a movie or some
that'd be
shit.
kind of wild. That'd be
Um,
kind of wild.
so like if there's some chain I have like no fucking idea what to use, like I can't figure out how to get there. Gas has it.
I promise you, I probably have it. Yes, and not only that, I have it in, and that's why it's called gas originally. I have it in the native asset. So like, you ever
Uh,
listen? A lot of people go to this bridge, and like all of a sudden you'll like send money, and you end up with like XLR wrapped USDC, whatever, and
yeah.
like you can't do anything with it. Yeah. So I'm like, I always will have the native asset so you can do a transaction. That was kind of the pitch of it originally.
I want to go back and then we can like bring it
Sure.
back. The auger thing is so interesting. Like I guess I've heard a lot of people reference that like obviously Polymarket wasn't the first prediction market, but like auger came before all of this. It was like before my time. It was actually the first ETH ICO, like the literal first. Is that true?
Yeah, technically, I think, yeah, a lot of the money was raised in Bitcoin through the ICO, but there was still ETH raised.
How much money did they raise?
Uh, it was like I want to say 1.2 million units of Ether and like 50,000 Bitcoin, and almost all of it was sold in 2015. At Pico top, it would have been like $8 billion. You could have like taken over a country. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, it was wild. But we like that. It was 2015. Like the Ethereum Foundation was like almost broke. Like the entire sentiment of crypto was different. They like OTC'd most of that stuff out at like I don't know 40 cent ether probably 45 cent ether. Yeah, sicko.
45 cents.
Yeah, yeah. It's 2015, right? You know, and entirely different world. But yeah,
Holy
it was
fuck.
huge. Yeah, it was huge. But at the time, it was $5 million, 5 million USD. That was the raise,
And
which was
what?
still like crazy back then.
So this was 2015. You were working on this.
Yeah, I joined like 2 or 3 months after the crowd sale. But the crowd sale was October 2015. Yeah,
Holy fuck, dude. That is insane. And then
it's a lot.
what's some like early lore on prediction markets? Like what was Augur like in crypto prediction markets like in 2015? Like what was going on?
Yeah, it was like I mean, it was poised for a long time. Like it was written in the ETH white paper from Vitalik as like this is like a sicko primary use case of like why like decentralized like like prediction markets have been this like academic like subject of people like dreaming of for such a long time, right? And they're like kind of hard to build mostly because as you poly market solves a lot of it, but like getting liquidity on these things are like really difficult. Getting people to understand what these things are, the really difficult markets and stuff like that, right? And then when you like go and try to build it in a really decentralized kind of way, we did it where like we didn't run anything. It's like that's like legally speaking in the United States, we were like free open source software developers, and like we didn't run it. If you wanted to use it, you needed to download it and sync the chain, man. And like there were no indexers, there was no nothing. You
No.
got to like sync the ETH chain on your like laptop. It was chaos. Oh yeah, there was no infra for any of it. So this is like like people used it, sure, right? There was, I think in Augur V1, we peaked on a couple markets at maybe like $50 million in OI and stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah, it was primarily used as kind of still what the use case is a lot for today is political markets.
Got it.
People, the political betting. That was the real bread and butter. That's still kind of this is going to be the make or break of poly market more or less is if they can get traction outside of political markets. Because we all know betting on political markets is like a desirable thing. But the issue is it only really occurs once every 4 years, right? And then you have kind of 3 years
Every
of like,
4 years. Yeah.
what are you betting on now, right? And the real issue is like, particularly for you, right? I'm like, you want to go bet on like some like, I don't know, binary outcome event where if you're right, maybe you make 50%, or do you just like want to go like to the trenches and like, if you hit something, there's like unlimited upside, right?
Upside.
It's really hard to convince people to kind of get interested in these markets. And also if you're not like if you don't know what you're doing, like it's a priced information market. Like if you're not right, you're just gonna lose.
You're just
right?
wrong. Yeah.
Whereas like you don't need to be like that right to like buy shitters and stuff.
No,
right?
not
I
only
mean,
can you
just gotta,
not be right, but there's like I remember like Peak 2024 it'd be like it's a LARP, slam it. Like the tech isn't real,
yeah.
bid it. Tech is fake, bid it.
It's like the exact opposite of like
Yeah.
information markets, right? Like you need to be like autistically perfectly right on like your stuff. Like that is what the market is pricing. So it's a really kind of difficult thing to bootstrap.
Was Doma around back then?
I believe he was around it. He was like a lot of these early prediction market guys came from Predicted. Like Predicted was a huge and still is kind of like a like built this like early prediction market ecosystem, right? And then they kind of got pulled into crypto. A lot of these people because this is where new prediction markets are being built. Yeah.
And, okay, I'm like fascinated. I'm obsessed. Also, Archly with the gifted. Oh my god, or like 100 go. I'm like obsessed with ever since I've been doing interviews, really like the mind of like professional bettors is like so lit. Like I talked to Doma, I'm like, bro, this guy's a fucking Chad. They're all poker players. Most of them are traders in some facet. Like, what happened to all of the early like Augur power users? Like, did they all just become like crypto whales and make it? Like, where did everybody go?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like the small handful of real power users we had were what you would define already as like extremely wealthy sharps. You call them sharps of gambling, right?
Yeah.
Like really sharp people, which is also problematic when your entire kind of betting pool is only really sharp people, right? Betting exchanges work when you have losers. Like you need losers. You need losing people to take the other sides of the bet. So when you have this giant pool of really only sharp people, it's really hard to start getting action on that stuff. But some of them are docs, some of them weren't necessarily, but a lot of them they were poker players, a lot of overlap with poker players, right? like ex-founders, you know, and they were guys who like had a bunch of ETH, and you know, they saw it as a way to kind of a lot of them were into political betting. And a lot of the early open interest was them kind of betting with each other. So it was like, you know, and like you kind of see it today, right? You've seen like two like sharp guys on Twitter that have like a differing opinion, and then they like Kobe escrow it, right? It was kind of like these levels of like sharp person versus sharp person who have differing opinions, like trying to take action against each other. But I mean, they're all most of the power users back then were these guys would come in with like, I don't know, they have wallets with like 25,000 ETH in it. It's like their hot wallet. Like these guys were insane. They were very successful. They were very rich, and they were very sharp. Like generally you didn't really want to take a bet against them because like you're probably losing. Like it's just, that's like the problem with like sharp people, right? But they're still out and about. You know, I think a lot of these people retired to, I mean, a lot of the sharps honestly are just like, they take the action when they think they have an edge. Otherwise, like they hold Bitcoin and Ether, and they're like, I hold Bitcoin and Ether. And now today, it's like they'll hold Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, and then like, you know, some small percentage of like exotics. And they're just like, listen, if this all works, like my grandkids are gonna play bumper cars with like super yachts, and I'm gonna sit here in the meantime and just like be smart, literally.
Dude, 25K ETH is fucking gross.
Yeah, bro. I mean, there's like, bro, there's some people out there. This is like, there's like a huge disconnect between like early ETH people that hit it well and like people today. Because like, yeah, if you got in and like ETH was like $300, you're kind of like, oh, this thing is like sus. And like, okay, cool. I got like a 5x on it. And like, if ETH doubles from here, like, okay, cool. Like, it's like not interesting, right? But there are people out there who like were rich and like levered into this shit at like 30 cents. And like, it just, like it actually printed them like generational wealth, right? So it's like it was an insane wealth generation event, right? Like higher than anything you could. I mean, this thing it was trading. The ICO price was like 40 cents. It traded down to like 20 cents. And there were guys that, you know, they were well off in some other industry, right? And they came in, they're like, hell yeah, I'll take $5 million of this shit. And like, come find out now they're like, oh, I have like $7.2 billion in liquid crypto or something, right? Like, so it was giant. There's like people out there that have sicko amounts of this stuff that like, and they guess what? The weird part is some of them do, but a lot of them, they don't know you exist. They don't know I exist.
No
they don't know
clue,
any
right?
of this exists.
Yeah.
And they don't care, right? They're just like, nope, I have like $1 billion in Bitcoin. I log in 2 or 3 times a year. You know, I sell $100 million and then I go back on my yacht, like in the south of France, like fuck off for another 6 months. That's just like, there's like some real sickos out there. Oh yeah.
And you've met some of these guys from just like being around forever?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I like occasionally, I live in Vegas. I'll occasionally run into one of these people where they're just like, oh, this person's like a crypto guy. You should talk to him, Tom. I'm like, hey, I talk to him. And I'm like, they don't really know anything. And then they're like, oh no, that person that person bought like $5 million of coin in like 2010. And like, they don't know anything about it, but you know, they can like,
they have $10
you know,
billion.
they can go buy the palazzo across the street. And I'm like, oh, okay.
One of those guys, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
one
what
of those
happens
guys.
what happened to the founders of Augur?
One of them, there's like one of them was Joey Krug. He's now the chief investment officer of Founders Fund. He worked at Pantera for a while. He was the CIO at Pantera as well. He does very well. Very smart. He was him and another guy, Jack, who kind of he went into a lot of really smart, successful people in early crypto went afterwards into like longevity research. He does like longevity stuff, like science. I think ultimately a lot of people got really rich and they were like, what's the only other problem I can solve in the world? How do I not die? A lot of these guys went into like science and like longevity research. So they do a bunch of this type of stuff now. And then, you know, there's a Jeremy Gardner who maybe he's kind of not around too much anymore, but he was kind of like he was like crypto poster playboy on the magazines in like 2016 and 17 and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I think Joey's still the only real active one. You know, he does all the kind of investment stuff at Founders Fund today. And yeah, you know, it's unfortunate. It was a really good working at Augur made me learn like crypto really deeply in a way that was like super beneficial. Unfortunately, it made me fortunate. Like, none of us like. I mean, you know, the market cap at some point went quite high on some of these tokens, but like we were the definition of like we drank our own Kool-Aid. Like all of us round tripped all this. Anything we have, we round tripped all this.
How much did you round trip?
I don't even know because it's just like I didn't have too much, but like you can imagine like even like early investors and stuff, like the ICO guys, like all these people, like this was like you only bought into this thing in 2015 if you like deeply, deeply, deeply believed into it, right? And so like everyone was like, nah, yeah, like I'm not selling this. And today I think Reps market the market cap of the token, I think it's like $5 million. Like, like there was a point in 17, 18, it was a $1.2 billion before the product launch. It was just a white paper. And like 1.2 billion back then was like sicko. And it was just like we were like, and like I remember looking at it and being like, yeah, that can go to 3. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Like, wait, what's the market cap of
Literally.
ETH again? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That can go higher. That can go higher.
Whoa.
That's so a lot of early people didn't sell anything in a lot of the stuff, right? And
Makes
that
sense.
kind of worked for some of the ETH guys, but a lot of the tokens, RIP, good night.
Yeah, I mean, this is the common story, right? It's like, okay, so you said 2015, this prediction market crypto thing was like a lot of academic people were like trying, like philosophizing over how do we make this work. Do you think there's an equivalent problem or idea in crypto that equal sharp minds are like, who can figure out how to make this thing work?
I in terms of like something that's actually beneficial, arguably to the world, I think prediction markets is still kind of this thing. If you go talk to like any really sharp person and is like they're interested in kind of risk taking and stuff like this, everyone loves the grand vision of prediction markets. If you have like these super liquid markets, right? Because it would allow you to get exposure on any of your opinions and beliefs, profit on it. And not only that, the like interesting thing about prediction markets is if it worked to the grand vision, it arguably becomes like it becomes quite literally you can like begin to predict the future, right? Because I should ascribe more trust and belief in what you're saying if you're willing to bet $1 million on it versus the guy who's not willing to bet anything. You know, if you have an opinion and you say I'll put $1 million at risk on it, and this guy has a differing opinion but he's not willing to put any money on it, I'm gonna believe in your opinion more because you're willing to take risk on it, right? And if you aggregate that in the world, suddenly it's the best way. It's like you give everybody a financial outcome or a financial incentive to like aggregate all of their opinions and randomness in the world to like a single number. And like if you could do that on a grand scale, suddenly you would like know the true price of like any single possible. You turn the world into a giant like bookie, and like you would know the true actual price of any sort of outcome occurring because like you can back it with okay, there's like $100 million bet on this thing, right? That doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know, it doesn't mean it's like it's still probabilities, right? But you should be willing to trust somebody who's willing to bet on something much more than you should someone who's not willing to bet on something. And this is like the kind of great, you know, they call it like futurarchy, right? You can imagine a world where like the world is run this way. Decisions are made only when like a bunch of people bet on like they want a certain, you know, thing. So this is still kind of the grand vision. I think a lot of the philosophical stuff is like long gone for the most part out of the industry, right?
Damn.
And like as it should. This is like how industries mature, right? Like, you know, you have to get more people in, you have to get new minds interested in stuff, and I think eventually you will. I think it's going to take like some of the new generations to figure it out for themselves, the things that they care about. I think it'll start slowly happening. You're seeing it slowly happen as the new generations actually start like compounding and landing their wealth. This is like what made DeFi good. Eventually, everyone got rich, and they were like, "Oh shit, I want to like get a loan and buy a house, and like I can't do that." And then they're like, "Oh, we built this thing like Aave, and like you can borrow against all your ether because like you know nobody will write you a mortgage in the real world." So like as that starts happening to the new
You
generations,
just like create
you're gonna
your
start
own.
like yeah, you're gonna start figuring out like these like philosophical and deeper things everyone cares about, and like the tools and services that you want and need and stuff like that, right? Like you have a bajillion dollars in Solana one day, you're gonna be like, hey, like I don't how do I get a loan against this? How do I like
Yeah.
how do I buy a yacht with this thing, right? You know, and you'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Hey, there's like 5 people in the chat asking, please ask him about George Hotz. Who is that?
Oh, it's well, geez. That's my so when I lived in San Francisco, I lived in this place we called it the Crypto Castle.
The
It was just
Crypto
like a house with a
Castle?
bunch. Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 of us. We were like
Okay.
we all worked in like the crypto industry, right? We all shoved into like a 4-bedroom house in Potrero Hill in San Francisco. They called it the Crypto Castle.
Okay.
But George he's a friend of mine. He does self-driving cars. So he created this company, Comma AI, and
Okay.
it's like a cell phone. It's aftermarket self-driving. So you can mount like a cell phone in your car. It's like $1,000, and like it functionally gives you like Tesla full self-driving.
What?
Yeah, he's like, I mean, George is one of the most interesting and quite possibly like intelligent, just sheer intelligent people I've probably ever met in my life. But he's just like a sicko. He did a bunch of like he was early in like kind of the hacking scene and like, you know, iPhone jailbreaking type stuff. But I haven't seen him too bit, but he's just like so I lived with him in the crypto castle that's where I met him and you know, stayed friends. And he's a bit related to crypto. He doesn't do anything in crypto, right? But he's, you know, very well aware of it all. And he wrote like the Optimism's fraud proof thing in like a week once for like, a contract. Bro's like he's like next level of intelligence, more or less. And but yeah, no, he's cool. He's a friend. I haven't seen him in too long, but he comes around. You know, yeah, I lived with him for a long time. That's how I ended up meeting George. I don't know how people know that relation. It's wild.
There's like a bunch of people that like it's like 5 different people asking. I'm like, I was in the chat like, who is this? Apparently that's
crazy move.
Apparently it's a retarded question. Do you trade? Like, what do you when you're not building? What do you do all day? Are you a trader? Like, how do you make money?
Yeah, well, I mean, so we have a company, right? You know, we raised money for the company, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so my last time I mean, I did DeFi summer really hard.
Cool.
I've like played around, right? The thing is like I am a loser in like the Solana trenches. I've like watched you guys trade and I'm like, I'm gonna get eaten alive out there. I see what you guys do. You have your fucking meme scope and you have this and you have the analysis and you have the chats and I'm just like, I am a loser in this game.
Yeah.
And like I'm very happy like knowing that and acknowledging that. And I'm like, I can't play that game, right? So I'll do today mostly I trade like majors on like low leverage based on like kind of like sentiment. But I live on Twitter. And like in the same way, right? You live on Twitter, you can like kind of tell when like everyone's like suddenly bullish on something and like stuff's kind of going up, trending, and like, you know, try to hold it for a week or two, a couple weeks, you know, not like any short-term scalps and stuff like that. You know, but no, like before I was like working on gas, I would try to do more like short-term trading, more on-chain stuff. But like, you know, like bro, it's a full-time job. And if you're not like locked in on that thing, you get bent over and killed. Like it's just, it is what it is. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore, guys. Like I'm like old now. I feel like I can't stay up to date. There's new fucking terminals every day. There's all this crazy shit. I'm just like, I am a loser in this game. I accept it now. DeFi summer, I was a winner. Today, in the trenches, I'm a fucking loser, man. I can't do this anymore. So, you know, I wait and, you know, I'll wait until like sentiment seems good. And then, yeah, I guess I'll go like rip like max risk allo long I can on a bunch of these exchanges for Solana, right? And I'll ride it up and, you know, it's like I get like kind of similar, same directional exposure based on, I live on crypto Twitter, right? I just can't do these, you know, and like more power to you guys. I wish I could because I miss that, right? Like there was a time that existed on ETH and oh man, that was great. I can only imagine, you know? So more power to you.
I'm getting cooked I'm getting cooked in the trenches too. I got one more question for you and I have to let you go.
Sure.
Fuck, I wish it could be longer. Okay, something that's not prediction market. I guess you could say prediction markets again if you wanted to. They are interesting. But if you were like a smart person or talented young person in crypto, where do you think you should be spending most of your time and your attention?
Well, so I mean, if you want to be like a trader, you know, it's like I think if you like lock in and you like want to like do like shitter trading, I still think there's like edge if you can like manage to like put in a broader stroke. One, like if you're like young and you're smart and you believe in this stuff, you should figure out a way to like work in the industry somehow. That will pay you a million times over dividends, right? And you don't need to be technical per se, right? Like doing anything, just building equity in the industry, like suddenly you're going to look back 3 years from now and be like, holy shit, all this stuff has like built and compounded up behind me. And like, I am in this position where I can do crazy shit and this industry has now 10x. So try to work in the industry and honestly, you just like use all the new stuff that came out. That's like, you know what I mean? That's the best thing you could do, you know, new chains, new apps, new whatever, and like understand. I'm not saying like go understand the new edge of like ZK proofs, distinct like type stuff. It's like, but you know, new chains, where trends are going, like you don't need to be like taking risk in these things, but understanding them and staying on top of them, because like it's just going to happen one day. You're going to wake up and like you're going to understand something because you've used it, and there's going to be like suddenly a new opportunity because you understand that thing, and you're going to be able to hit it. And there's going to be like two of those opportunities that are going to happen in your life with this stuff, and that's what's going to be like your like make or break king trader type of thing, right? You're going to know how to get to this weird place, or like how this weird new protocol works. Suddenly there's going to be huge opportunity and alpha in it, and you're going to be like the first person to hit it because like you sat there one night and like learned about it, right? Just like staying on top of it and actually using the stuff, but also like figuring out how to work in it, right? That's like, if you're bullish on this stuff long term, like for you, like this is like the best thing you could do, right? Is like build equity in doing something, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Damn.
And one day you'll wake up and be like, holy shit, I'm like the Joe Rogan of or whatever, right? You know, like that's just like it very well can happen, right?
Tom, honestly, dude, you're sick. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I woke up this morning and I was like, damn, I don't even really know who this is other than just like a Twitter guy that like mutual.
No, man, I'm around.
You're sick. This was actually like
whatever. I live in Vegas. If you ever come to Vegas, I literally live on the Vegas Strip. So,
sick.
You ever come to Vegas? Let me know. You know,
I definitely want to talk to you offline. You're like a really cool guy. You like skate and shit. Like,
whenever.
You like a skater?
What?
You skate?
No. Bro, today, to be honest with you, I mean, I used to like snowboard, I used to play sport. I'm like a bit older now. I'm like 30. I probably went outside 3 times in the last month. I sit right here. I'm like,
dude, you look like a Chad. Not like no glaze.
I sit right here. I'm on Twitter. I fucking work. I think this is all I do today.
We'll talk offline. I actually really enjoyed talking to you. We could have gone for 3 hours.
Yeah, maybe up sometime. I'm literally always around. Like I sit right here, happy to chat whenever, happy to chill. But yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you, dude. Go off. I know you have somebody else. So,
okay, cool.
Sorry.
You're a G, dude. Thanks for sorry I was late too. You're the man, dude.
All good, man. All good.
All right, bro.
Talk to you later, man.
Peace.
Thank you.